everybody and welcome back to another episode of Inside Number 23, my podcast which is all about knitting and sewing and generally living the craftiest life possible. My name is Katie. You can find me pretty much everywhere on social media as Miss Lavelli, although I am most active on Instagram, so that is the best place to check me out if you want regular updates as to what I am up to. And if you want to contact me regarding anything to do with the podcast, please feel free to drop me an email. My email is katie@insidenumber23.com and it would be lovely to hear from you. Welcome back, guys, to another episode of Inside Number 23. It's really great to be back with you again. It has been a little bit hectic over the last week. I wanted to get back onto my recording schedule, so there's been a little bit more of a hiatus between episodes than I had wanted. Also, the heat has not been amazing. I'm sure that a lot of you are kind of sick of everybody in the UK talking about how hot it has been, but my goodness, we are not used to this kind of weather here. For those of you who don't know, I podcast in Hertfordshire, which is just north of London in the UK, where I live with my husband Emrys and a lovely pug puppy Rolly. And over the last, it's been a month and a half, 2 months nearly, we've been having a heat wave, which I don't call a heat wave anymore because a heat wave is usually maybe 2 weeks at the most here, and it's getting pretty unbearable, and apparently it's going to go on until the end of August, which is not great news for someone like myself who is currently quite heavily pregnant. But yeah, it's been a little bit difficult to get anything done really because it's just unbearably warm, but I have got some fun things to share with you and it's just lovely to be back with you again. I do have my window open, so apologise if there's any background noise. All the kids around here are on their summer holidays now, which means that there are a lot more people around when I'm recording during the day, but nothing can be done because I need the window open, because otherwise being in this room upstairs in my house with a studio light on me in order to get some kind of decent lighting, I'd pass out pretty soon if I didn't have some kind of air. I only have one light up today as well, rather than two, which I usually have, so the light may be a bit unbalanced, but we're gonna work with it. We're gonna work with it, you guys. It's gonna be absolutely fine. So I think I'm gonna crack on with a couple of things. I have a few things to talk about before I get on to all of the kind of main podcast content. First and foremost, this weekend in the UK it is going to be Fibre East, and I'm very excited to say that I think this might be the third year in a row that I've gone to Fibre East. It might even be the fourth year that I've gone to Fibre East, but I very much enjoy it. I will be at Fibre East on the Saturday, so this Saturday I will be in Fibre East. I'm very much looking forward to going to a yarn festival and inhaling all of the yarn fumes and stroking all of the lovely yarn and maybe making a couple of purchases. To be honest, I've got to the point now where I have, as you can see, quite an extensive stash of yarn, so buying isn't necessarily the priority at festivals. It's about spending time with friends and seeing new products and maybe making special purchases. So I can't promise that there won't be some purchases, but I am very much trying to buy from my stash, shop from my stash, rather than just kind of willy-nilly buying lots of new things. So, but you never know, might want to treat myself on a Saturday out with friends, which will be lovely. As always, at events, if you would like to come and say hello, please feel free. I do get a little bit nervous meeting new people, as you'll be aware if you've been watching for a while, but in general everybody is so lovely and so kind of polite and just really conscious of my personal space. At least everybody has been at events when I've met people before, but please do feel free to come up and say hello if you would like to. The only one thing that I would request, it feels really odd having to say this on the podcast because you as my viewers are all so wonderful and so understanding and so kind of sensitive, but I have experienced some people not necessarily being like that since I have become pregnant, in particular since I have become quite heavily pregnant and it not being something that I can hide away anymore. So since you've been able to see the baby bump, a lot more people have become very touchy-feely with me, and I'm talking about people that I've never even met in my life before, thinking that it's appropriate to touch me and to touch my baby bump and that type of thing. And as someone who doesn't really do great in social situations when it comes to being physical with people I don't know. I find it very, very stressful. So I just ask that you be respectful of my personal space, and don't necessarily think that just because I'm pregnant it's a free-for-all and you can come and be like rubbing my belly and that type of thing. I honestly don't think that anyone will do that, because like I said, you guys are very sensitive and very empathetic and just polite and lovely, and I've never really experienced anyone being unnecessarily physical in the past, but I am a lot more conscious of it now that I'm pregnant. So I've said it, it's out there, please don't take it personally. I hope that that doesn't come across as me being like, oh, don't touch me or whatever. It is generally just because I find it very bizarre that people think that they can get all up in my physical business just because I happen to be growing a small human. Some people are a bit strange, but I don't want to ruin the experience for anybody at Fibre East, so do please say hello, just be respectful, and I know that you will be, you know. Said it, it's done. Moving on. I do have a little bit of kind of slightly sadder, more gutting news when it comes to festivals. And that is, I had said previously how I would be attending the Perth Festival of Yarn in September. I was very, very excited to go to the Perth Festival of Yarn, to be a part of the podcaster lounge and to meet all of you guys and to see another part of Scotland that I have never experienced before. I have been to Aberdeen and Glasgow and Edinburgh, but I've never been to Perth, and I was really excited about it. But unfortunately, due to the fact that I will be coming quite close to the end of my third trimester when Perth Festival of Yarn is on, I'm no longer going to be able to attend. It's really, really sad, but after kind of discussions with my family, I would have been going up solo. I would have been with friends while I was there, but Emrys wouldn't be with me, and I don't necessarily want to risk going into labour so far away from home and without my husband. So it's really sad, and I'm so sorry to anybody who was expecting me to be there. I would love to be there, and maybe in the future that will be something that I can do, but not this year. Unfortunately, I have to put the small human's needs first, and yeah, I would still really recommend, if you're in the area or if you're in Scotland or you fancy a little trip away, that you make the journey. I will put the link down below so that you can find out more about Perth Festival of Yarn. But yeah, sad times, I will not be there. But everybody who is going, I'm sure, will have the most wonderful time. Okay, I think it's time that we move on to some knitting content, because I don't have anything me made on today. I'm wearing a much more exposed outfit than I would usually wear on the podcast. I found that in the heat I really just don't care about showing a bit more skin anymore. I'm literally wearing a pair of leggings and a little tank top, little pregnancy tank top, and I'm still really, really warm. There is no room for anything more than this in my life, covering my skin at the moment. I'm already getting pink and flushed. So the other thing about being really pale is that you do tend to flush very, very easily. But I do have some knitting bits and pieces to talk to you about this week, and kind of hilariously, I think that they are all brand new cast-ons between this episode and the last episode. And I know I was all like, oh, I'm gonna be finishing up everything and not casting on new things. Yeah, that hasn't happened, guys. I have cast on some new projects, so let me share them with you. The first new cast on that I started working on this week is another baby knit project. I have been putting a lot of work onto another project which I'll share with you in just a little bit, but my heart was longing for something tiny and adorable to cast on, and so many of you have been suggesting patterns that I might like to cast on for a little small human, and in particular some of you mentioned PetiteKnits, and I'm a big fan of PetiteKnits. I love their adult patterns, but I really, really love that they've got a lot of designs that are kind of available in multiple sizes, so for big grown-up people and for small, tiny little baby people as well. And I decided, I've never used one of their patterns before, that I would like to cast on one of their baby jumpers to see how I get on. So I chose the design which is called the Ankers Shirt, and this particular design, it kind of has ribbing knitting around the yoke, and then it's a relatively simple stockinette, oh my goodness, sweater. It's also in fingering weight, which is great because I have a very large supply of fingering weight yarns to draw from when it comes to knitting for the teeny tiny human. And yeah, I must admit, I'm struggling with the pattern a little bit. As is the case with translated patterns, sometimes I do find it difficult because I'm so used to knitting in the style that English designers and American designers tend to adopt when they come to write their patterns, and anything that kind of errs from that does throw me a little bit, and I'm hoping it's just going to be an adjustment. But I'm just feeling a little bit off about this project, which is such a shame because I do really love it and I think it will be a beautiful thing. But let me show you how much that I've done, and I'll kind of explain. I'll explain how I feel about it. Trying to balance things on my lap when there's not much lap space anymore is kind of hilarious. This is how much I have done of this project now. Isn't this cute? See, seeing it like this does make me think it's adorable. This is the Ankers shirt, and I've knit this out of quite an old skein of Homespun House, which I've had in my stash for quite some time. The colour, I believe, is called Shire, and it's actually a tweed yarn, so it has all these little neps in it. The main colour is this lovely green, but it has occasional little speckles of brown and orange, and it's also tweed. So it has, like I said, little yarny neps. It's beautiful. I love this yarn, and I'd been saving it for ages and I couldn't work out what I wanted to knit with it. And it just seemed that a baby sweater would be perfect because it's such a lovely colour, and it goes with a lot of the other things that I've been making as well. My little progress keeper, as always, is from Jiggles and Beans. It's a little Frankenstein's monster lollipop. I love Jiggles and Beans progress keepers. I have so many, but they make me so happy, so why not have all of the progress keepers from there? So I am a little bit concerned of how this is knitting up. I went for the smaller size again, which is a 1 to 3 month size. I am knitting a lot of my baby knits in the smaller sizes suggested, just because of when the baby is due, working out kind of how many months of wear that I will get from these objects. I think basically the way I'm feeling is kind of 1 to 3 months is a good bracket to go for, considering that they're due kind of October, November. And then perhaps moving on to something 6 months to 1 year, possibly. I'm playing it a little bit by ear, but I am a little bit concerned. I had to do quite a few swatches for this pattern in order to get gauge. I think that the pattern specifies 3mm needles, and I sized down to 2.5mm in order to get the gauge that was required for the pattern. But I feel like the neckline, I did a long tail cast on, but I feel like this neckband is still a little bit small. It does have a really cute little kind of divide at the back, which gives it a lot more stretch to pop over baby's head. But I am a little concerned that it may be too tiny, mostly because I have no idea how big the baby is going to be. Although a woman that I met in a charity shop a few days ago couldn't believe that I had 3 more months to go before I gave birth, and made some very personal comments about my size, which wasn't fun. So apparently she thinks the baby's going to be massive, going by the size that I am. Just talking about people forgetting kind of their manners, shall we say, when they're talking to someone who is with child. But I am a little concerned that it may not fit amazingly. I love this yoke panel. I think it's beautiful. I think that the colourway is gorgeous. I love it in so many ways, but I am a little bit hesitant to continue with it just because of my concerns with how it's going to fit. Have any of you guys knit any of the anchor patterns by PetiteKnits before? Have you had any problems with this type of thing? I'd really love to hear your feedback about it. I mean, looking at it, there is a lot of flexibility in there, and I think popping that over their head won't be a huge problem. But again, first time parent, not a huge amount of experience of squeezing babies into knitwear. So yeah, any advice that you guys have, or any kind of anyone who's knit this pattern specifically, that would be really appreciated if I could have a little bit of feedback on that. Because I can always it suggests that you make a little crochet loop with a button, and I could always make that a little bit bigger so that it allows slightly more space around the neck. So there are things that I could do. Maybe I just need to knit it a little bit bigger and see how I feel, because right now it's kind of slightly stunted. It is very little still. But yeah, I love the yarn. It's really makes me happy to have another project made with yarn from a dyer who I adore so much for a little human, just because I'm really enjoying collecting special things for them and creating these special little projects. It means a lot to me to be able to do that, and considering how much of the nesting energy that has come out of me recently, it's really helpful to be able to plow all of that energy into a smaller project like this, rather than worrying about the bigger amounts of work that we need to do around the house, which is all going to get done soon, but there's not obviously a huge amount that I can help with at the moment. But it's a bit rambly and waffly. But yes, I do really love this pattern, but I have some concerns about fit. So as I've said many times now, any advice or feedback that you guys might have if you have knit this pattern before would be very much appreciated. Yay! The next thing that I've been working on this week is, very excitingly, a finished object. And it's a bit of a cheap finished object, to be fair, because it is another baby knit, and it's so tiny that, I mean, baby knits, this is not a new discovery that baby knits take no time to work on, but it is an absolute thrill to me that these projects take so little time to complete, because it makes me think I'm going to have so many things ready for the baby by the time that they get here, which is very exciting. But there's a little bit of story behind this next project. Thank you so much to everybody who answered my queries about stuffy knitting for children, or cuddly toys as I know them in the UK. I've never heard a cuddly toy called a stuffy until I started watching podcasts, and I do think it must just be a where you're from kind of thing, because in the UK we just call them cuddly toys. A cuddly toy, you know. But I have been thinking that I would like to make some toys for the baby, mostly just to give myself a little bit of variety in terms of what I'm making, because I don't just want to have 100 little tiny sweaters. I'd like to have something that's going to last a little bit longer, and until they're here and I kind of know what their personality is a little bit more, I don't want to make a huge amount for them in case I put something on them and I think, oh, that doesn't really suit you anymore, small human, because now I know you better. I hope that makes sense. It probably is incredibly rambly, but suffice it to say, I have been looking at lots of stuffy, cuddly toy knitting patterns. I've also seen some sewing patterns that I really like for little toys and bits. So thank you for everybody who sent me suggestions. I'm not actually working on any toys at the moment, but from everybody sharing with me all of their suggestions for stuffed animals, because I kind of said I like very traditional, you know, I'm a big vintage fan, so very kind of classic traditional toys make me very happy, but I also like woodland animals and then things that are a bit more fairy tale, fantastical, and I've had some really wonderful suggestions for toys, which is so lovely, so thank you very much for all of those. But during the time that I was kind of being sent things, I started looking up specific designers and designs that they have come up with, and a couple of you guys suggested a designer called Claire Garland, who does these really gorgeous, realistic kind of woodland animal cuddly toys, which are so sweet, and there's a possibility I may try knitting one of those, although they do look, I mean, they look like sculptures, they look like art. If you look her up on Ravelry, you'll see what I mean, and check out her Instagram. But one pattern in her designs just jumped out at me, and I knew from the second that I saw it that I needed to cast it on, because it was a pattern for a pair of booties that looked like little foxes. Now, for anyone who's watched the podcast for a little while, you'll know that I have a thing for foxes. I really do. Maybe it's because I'm a redhead, you know, whatever. I'm a big fan of Fantastic Mr. Fox, and one of my favourite dresses that I've ever worn is my Foxy lady dress, or at least that's how we affectionately came to know it, which is a blue dress that I made by Deer and Doe. It's the dress that I wore in our pregnancy announcement video, because it's one of my favourite dresses of all time. You'll know it. You've probably seen it around if you've been watching the podcast for a while, or you've seen my Instagram, because I love it, and it makes me sad that it doesn't currently fit me. But yes, I do love a fox. So when I saw this fox booty pattern, my heart longed for it so much. I knew that I would have to make it. In terms of the yarn that I used, a little bit off topic, linked but not, I have been researching some new yarn that has been added recently to Loop London, because I don't have a local yarn shop here in Hertfordshire. There's just nowhere around here that's local to me that stocks yarn, or at least not the type of yarn that I would use. I can go to John Lewis and pick up something more commercial, but if I want something more special, the easiest place for me to get to, believe it or not, is Loop in London, if I just travel in, or I can pop in there on the way home from work. And I saw that they started stocking, it's called CaMaRose, I hope that's how you pronounce it, in a DK weight, 100% organic wool. And I was kind of questioning whether or not I should use 100% organic wool for a baby knit. I know that there's a lot of discussions as to what is appropriate for little humans and what isn't. I asked you guys on Instagram about it, and I actually got some really polarized viewpoints on it. There was one camp that was like, no, you can't use this, it's too toothy for a baby, you shouldn't use it at all. And then there was another camp that basically said, well, it actually washes up really, really nicely, and it is appropriate for babies when it's washed. And I've spoken to people who stock this in its country of origin, and it's, you know, once you've washed it and it's softened, it's great for baby knits. It's also organic, it's very breathable. And the other kind of argument from that is, even if it is still a little bit toothy, if you introduce little people to things that are slightly not just, you know, baby soft, they get more used to them early on in life, which can be really good for babies, particularly if you're thinking of knitting them things in kind of organic wool in the future. And so lots of different perspectives. And luckily, a lovely dear friend and viewer of the podcast sent me a skein of this yarn, and I can't thank you enough. Thank you so much. I'm not going to mention your name, because I don't think I actually asked if I could mention your name before I shared this, but she sent me this gorgeous skein of the CaMaRose. This is the DK weight 100% organic wool, and just from squeezing it, I really like it. I could definitely have this next to skin, and I think it's beautiful. This silver colour is so gorgeous. I have popped the ball band back on, but I wound a little bit of this off, and I did a little swatch, and I washed it because that was what I was suggested to do in terms of feeling how it changed after blocking. I did a really nice block with it as well. I used a little bit of baby shampoo, which is kind of how I'm thinking that I'll be hand washing some of the baby garments that I have, just because it's super gentle and it's something that smells really, really good. I wore it around kind of in my bra for a bit, and it does wash up really, really, really softly. I understand why some people may not want to use this for a baby, but I don't have a problem using it for a baby at all. So I only used a little bit, which means I have the rest of this to play with. So I may be making some other fun things with this too, which is very, very exciting. Thank you so much for sending me that. But basically, long story short, from that I knew straight away that I would want to knit these Foxy booties in this particular yarn. And you guys, look! I just, if this isn't cute enough, look. They have little tails. They have little foxy tails. Here they are. They are everything. Are they not everything that you've ever wanted and more? in a knitting pattern. I am absolutely in love with them. This is a free pattern that you can find on Ravelry. I think it was originally published in a magazine, so when you go through the link on Ravelry it takes you to the magazine page and then you can print the pattern out from there. I'm pretty sure that's how I did it, but oh my gosh, these are just adorable. Look at their little faces. These took no time to make either. I cast both of these on, finished them, blocked them in less than half a day, and yes, they are knit in pieces. So basically you knit the little booties and then you knit the 4 ears and the 2 little tails and you construct them. And I know that some people aren't a huge fan of patterns for toys and that type of thing that are knit in pieces, but it was so quick, and a lot of these pieces are really, really tiny, but the way that I would work is I would finish an ear and then I would sew it onto the booty. So I didn't just have loads of little pieces lying around. And I'm just so happy with them. Look at how cute they are. The pattern unfortunately only comes in one size, which is the only downside of it, but it's a free pattern, so what are you going to do? You know, I think it would be quite easy for a clever knitter to take this pattern and be able to size it up themselves. It's not complicated. It is kind of advertised as beginner friendly. The only thing that's slightly not beginner friendly is the fact that you do have to do a little bit of construction and sewing in pieces, but if you get something this adorable, oh, it's incredibly self-indulgent, this project, let's be fair. It's their newborn baby size, little booties. I don't imagine that they're going to get a huge amount of wear from our little person, just because they're not the most practical of things to knit for a baby, but I genuinely don't care, because the second that they don't fit anymore or they're not really getting worn, they will be on display somewhere because they're adorable. I might crochet a little kind of, you know, like you have mittens, like joining them together so I can hang them up in the baby's nursery. I'm just so happy with them. They're by far the cutest thing that I've knitted. I mean, I know that I say that pretty much about every baby project that I finish, about how it's being adorable, but these just, I mean, they cross the line, don't they, in terms of something that's just too cute. And I'm so happy with them. And also, after washing, they're surprisingly soft and snuggly. I don't have a problem having them against my neck, against, you know, my more sensitive skin. And I just think that they're perfect. They go on the little baby's feet. I am probably going to put these in my hospital bag to take with me when the baby is born. For those of you who don't remember, I knitted a newborn vertebrae in this beautiful yarn. This yarn was given to me by my dear friend Nikki for my birthday last year, and it's Hocus Pocus themed, so it's very autumnal. It's very kind of Halloween-y, and I just think these two together, do they not look adorable? Cohesive baby outfits from the get-go. But yeah, I do think that they will probably end up being in the hospital bag, and at the very least we will be taking many pictures of the baby wearing these because they're so adorable. And I can't recommend this pattern more highly. It's just brought me so much joy putting these together, which is why I think that making a couple of like stuffed animals and that type of thing for the baby is going to be really, really fun, because I can take time making them look really cute and lovely. And yeah, aren't they adorable? They're so cute. I really do want to make a pair for myself though, although I know that if I wore something like this with ears and tails, that Rolly would just go nuts and try and eat them the whole time. He would definitely try and chew them to pieces. But for now, I've made little Foxy booties for our small human, and I couldn't be happier. Great gift as well. Can you imagine knitting these and getting these as a gift? If someone ever made me something like this for the baby, I would die. I love anything kind of animal themed and with ears, and oh, that would just, I'd probably cry if someone ever did. But I've made them myself, so I've fulfilled that need in my heart. Although anything with animal stuff on it, yeah, it's good. Before I move on to the kind of grown-up project that I've been working on, I did want to address a couple of things when it comes to baby knits that I've had in a couple of comments on my last couple of episodes. For those of you who don't know, after Emrys and I did our pregnancy announcement video, we also put another video on this channel, which I think is called We're Having a Human. I can't remember exactly, but I'll link it down below. And we answer some frequently asked questions that we have been asked quite a lot about the baby. And you know, if you're interested, you might want to check that out. The reason that I bring it up is that I have been having a lot of people in the comments section and in direct messages and that type of thing who still don't know certain things about our baby. And one of the biggest things is, no, we are not finding out the sex of our child before they are born. We don't know whether we are having a boy or a girl. And yeah, we just want a surprise. Yeah, we're going old school. We want a surprise. We want to be able to wait until they're born. And for that reason, a lot of what I am knitting I would consider to be incredibly gender neutral. I have had some comments from people saying that they are assuming that our baby is a boy because of what I've been knitting for them. And I'd just like to say I genuinely don't think that there's anything particularly masculine about anything that I have knitted for the baby so far. I've knitted in orange, in green, in pinky burgundy, in white speckles, in just plain green. I've made these little fox boots, and every single colour that I've used for the baby I would wear myself as a woman, and I'm pretty sure that my husband would be happy if I knitted something for him out of them. And I think that our perception of what is appropriate for boys and girls when it comes to knitwear is a little bit just slightly narrow-minded, I guess. I think that there are projects that I'm planning that are a lot more colourful. I have gone for a very autumnal palette so far because they are going to be an autumn baby, and my personal preference with the yarns that I buy and that type of thing do tend to be more kind of jewel tones and autumnal or earthy tones, because I know that those kinds of colours make me happy and also that they suit me. And considering that I'm growing the small human, I imagine that they might have a similar colouring to me, so perhaps, you know, that will work for them. And also jewel tones work very well for Emrys's colouring, so chances are baby's going to be a combination of the two of us, so the likelihood is that those colours will also look cute on the baby. What colours that you choose to make clothes for your own children or grandchildren or friends' children is absolutely fine, but I do find it really funny that I've had people equally say that what I've knitted is very masculine, and then I've also had comments that say that it's very feminine, and from that they have guessed the gender of our baby, the sex of our baby. And we don't know, guys. We genuinely don't know. I know that hopefully there is going to be a baby human, but for now everything that I'm knitting I think would be totally appropriate for both a boy or a girl. So yeah, just so you know, we don't actually know, and it's not a big secret that we're keeping from you, because I think some people think I'm being deliberately evasive and trying to put little hints and secrets into the projects that I'm making, in terms of trying to give you subliminal messages as to the sex of our child, and that's just not the case. But yeah, I just wanted to say that because I just found it a little bit funny that people think that, you know, a boy can't wear a burgundy jumper or a girl can't wear something that's orange, when I am a girl and I wear both, and my husband is a boy and he would wear both. So anyway, moving swiftly on. I have one other knitting project that I've been working on this week, and I'm really excited to be able to share it with you because it's been a long time coming. Like, in my brain I've been planning this knit for ages, and I talked about it on my last episode, but I'm just utterly shocked at how quickly this has come together. It's amazing, and I can't wait to share it with you. Just to kind of refresh your memory, if you haven't watched any of my episodes before, or, you know, just for the sake of refreshing your memory, I bought this incredible yarn from Travel Knitter. at Edinburgh Yarn Festival 2 years ago. This is, oh, isn't it just divine? This is the Tanami base by Travel Knitter, which is 50% silk, 50% baby camel, and this colour is the English Damson colourway. I originally cast on a cardigan with this and got very fed up with it, frogged it back, caked up all the yarn again, and wanted to use it for a project that I knew that I would love, and decided that Breathing Space by Veera Välimäki was going to be the project. I also, because of the amount of yardage that you need and that it's striped, I needed some contrasting yarn, so I picked up 2 skeins of this colourway in the same base. This is Puddled Iron. Is it not beautiful? It's this gorgeous navy blue grey colour. It's I kind of think of it as blackberry coloured. These are the 2 colours together. Oh my goodness, they make me so happy. But I talked about in my last episode how I wanted to get this cast on and start working on it, because I have been working on my soiree sweater, but the mohair has just been, I can't knit with mohair when it's this hot. Just so that you get an idea, I think it's up to 36, 37 degrees. It's just, yeah, it's not the one. But I wanted to have something that I knew would be cooler on my hands, because I do still want to knit. It's been I had such a hiatus from knitting at the beginning of my pregnancy because of various mental and physical ailments, that I just couldn't knit at all. And now that the mojo is strong in me, I'm like, I must knit, even if I feel like I'm in a furnace. So I decided to swatch for and then cast on the Breathing Space. And you guys, maybe it's because the amount of baby knitting that I've done, I've kind of think that sweaters take no time anymore, because my brain has been like rewired to think that all sweaters take no time at all, because I've been knitting things for a newborn who is tiny, and so things are really, really quick. But for some reason this is flying off my needles, and yeah, let me just show you, because since I spoke to you I cast this on, and this is currently where we are with it. Can you believe it? So I have cast on the top of the sweater. I then did the knitting around the bust, which is straight, and then to get the kind of diagonal of the Breathing Space, you do short row shaping. I've done all the short row shaping, and I'm now on to the main colour stripe, which is at the bottom of the sweater again. So we start off with English Damson. I started to stripe in the Puddled Iron, and then we did the short rows, and then I'm finishing up again with the English Damson at the bottom. It's on a bit of a small needle, so it's not kind of stretching out as much as it will do along the bottom. But guys, can we talk about how beautiful this is? I have gone for a size that is slightly larger than I would usually go for, but I think it's going to fit beautifully. It's going to have a really nice relaxed feel to it, which again is going to be really nice around the little bump that we've got here. I'm hoping that this will be a staple that I can go to in autumn, if the weather ever cools down. But can you believe how much that I've knitted? It is covered in rolly hair, because he loves it too, and he has been trying to sit on it, and although I defluff it every time I pick it up, it just happens when you live with a pug, their fur gets everywhere. But I am so in love with this sweater, I can't tell you. It's just, it's so pretty. It kind of makes me angry, but I'm just so thrilled that I finally found a project that is giving the right home to this yarn, because I adore this yarn. I think it's so beautiful. I think the striping is nice and subtle, which is just something that I love. The colours are so beautiful, and to be honest, with the majority of my wardrobe, something in this colour is actually going to act as a bit of a neutral garment that can be worn with so many things that I've already made. I'm also already planning out outfits with this, with other things that I'm hoping to make in the next few months. And I love it. I think the pattern is fantastic. It's incredibly intuitive. I found that I wasn't needing to necessarily have the pattern with me all the time. There are lots of areas of interest combined with areas of kind of more mindless knitting, of just knitting stockinette in the round. And it's just been an utter joy. I can entirely understand why so many people have knitted the breathing space sweater now. I can't wait to get mine finished. It's going to be a while before I can actually wear it, I'm sure, but I do love it. And yes, travel knitted yarn combined with this pattern is genuinely one of those magical patterns that is just going to bring so much joy for such a long time. And I do hope that I get it finished soon, because I do want to work on some other works in progress that I have, because there are quite a few other projects that I would like to get cast on at some point. I feel very creative at the moment. I feel that I need to stop starting and not finishing projects before I cast on new things. But I'm loving every moment of it. It brings me a lot of joy. So yay travel knitter, yay breathing space. I have done a little bit of sewing this week, and I'm really excited about this sewing project because it's been something that I had wanted to make since I found out that I was pregnant. For those of you who don't know, I am a huge fan of the independent pattern designer Deer and Doe. I've already mentioned them in this episode actually, in terms of the Blue dress. It's a dress that I love so much. I adore it. I've made 5 versions, including a couple of hacks that I've done, and it is kind of my go-to look when I'm not pregnant. So I was really excited to see that they actually released a maternity pattern of one of their dresses, because the owner of Deer and Doe herself became pregnant. I find that this happens a lot with independent pattern designers. When women go through pregnancy themselves, they release patterns that they have hacked for their own bodies. And yeah, the pattern is actually available as a non-maternity dress and maternity dress. It's called the Givre or Givre. It's French, and I'm probably butchering that, so I apologise. But essentially, it is a knit fabric dress that comes with a couple of different options. You can also cut it into a top if you would prefer. It has a short sleeved or long sleeve version, also a sleeveless version, and one of the versions has colour blocking, so you can essentially do a different colour for the top section than you do for the bottom section of the dress. Now, because of the heat and everything, I decided to go for the most simple version of this dress, which is, it's basically going to be like a giant tank top, which sounds fabulous to me right now considering the heat. I think it will be really comfortable, but also look quite stylish, which is amazing. And it was incredibly quick to come together. I think it's probably taken me about 2 days to do, in terms of, it is the maternity version at least is only available as a digital download. So you do need to either get that printed at a copy shop, like an A0 version, or do the thing that I tend to do, which is print out multiple A4 pages and stick them together to be able to use your pattern. So that is a little bit time consuming, but when it comes to actually cutting out this pattern, at least the version that I did, which doesn't involve multiple fabrics and kind of colour blocking, it had 4 pieces. So it had a front piece, a back piece, an armhole piece and a neckline piece, and that was it. So 4 pieces to cut out is hardly a bind, and I have pretty much finished. There are a couple of little things I need to do in terms of top stitching, but I'm really happy with how this is looking so far. So let me kind of show you how this looks. Yes, I am going to look like a bit of a jailbird in this fabric. This fabric was really kindly and generously given to me by one of my beautiful work colleagues, Louise. She went on a recent trip to Japan, and I was incredibly jealous because, in case you don't know, I mean, Japan's amazing as a company. Can't speak. Japan is a beautiful country anyway. I've never been myself, but it's been a place that I've wanted to go for a little while. I think Emrys would really like to go, so fingers crossed in our future we may eventually go to Japan. But they have this incredible fabric industry in Japan that produces really interesting prints and fabrics and all different kinds of things. So when Louise came back, obviously she was very well stocked up with fabric for herself, but so generously she also managed to bring back presents for all of us girls in the office. And mine is this beautiful ribbed jersey that's super stretchy, and depending on the light it looks either black and white striped or very dark navy striped, but either way it's fabulous. And I just knew that it would make the most comfortable, wonderful maternity dress ever, and yeah, I'm really happy with it so far. You can kind of see, let me just show you, I've still got pins along the neckline and the armbands because I need to top stitch this. I have sewn in the neckband and the armbands. I just love it. Isn't it cute? It's going to be so adorable. And I just need to top stitch these down because at the moment the raw edges on the inside are still going to flip out. So I'll use a zigzag stitch to stitch around here, all around the neckline, all around the armholes, and then I also need to hem it. At the moment my hem has been serged, but it needs to be folded and top stitched as well. But once that is done, this dress will be ready to wear, and I can't tell you how excited I am to wear it, mostly because it's going to be lovely to wear in the hot weather because it's sleeveless, but when it starts to cool down a little bit, fingers crossed that happens at some point, I can layer things with this really easily. I could wear it with a really nice big oversized cardigan or a little cropped thing. I could even put like a shirt over the top of it. I just think it's going to be very functional, and I love Deer and Doe patterns. It's funny because when I first started sewing with Deer and Doe, I did find their patterns a little bit difficult to use, but now that I understand exactly how they write them, and I've used quite a few of their different patterns for different things, I find the style very familiar, and I love what they do. And this dress I think is gorgeous for if you're pregnant. It makes me feel really nice. I've tried it on just to check the fit, and it makes me feel great to wear it, but everything that I've ever made from them makes me feel so confident once I've finished it. The other great thing about this particular pattern, their maternity pattern, is that it comes in two different sizes. It comes in a 3 to 6 month size and also a 6 to 9 month size. Originally I was going to go for the 3 to 6 month size, but I left it so late to get this cut out and done that I changed my mind and I actually reprinted the pattern with the 6 to 9 months size. So essentially it's to incorporate a larger bump, and my bump has kind of made itself much more prominent in the last couple of weeks, and I imagine that I'm going to be doing quite a bit more growing in the near future, and I didn't want something that would be too tight, so I think the 6 to 9 months is definitely the way to go. This will definitely be finished by next week's episode, so hopefully I will be able to show you it properly, but essentially it uses ruching in the side seams to be able to incorporate your baby bump, and other than that it's a very simple construction. So again, great for if you're wanting to sew maternity wear when pregnant, but you don't have a huge amount of energy to invest in something super complicated, which is, you know, you want something simple that gives you a result that's going to be really satisfying and that you're going to feel great wearing. And I can very much recommend this. So this is technically the second maternity pattern that I've ever worked on, and I'm just as happy with this as I was with my Erin skirt, and I'm hoping, fingers crossed, that I'll get this finished this afternoon. I may even be able to wear this to Fibre East. Who knows? But yes, I love it. Deer and Doe are amazing, and yeah, maternity sewing. Woohoo! So that is pretty much everything that I have for you this week in terms of my making. Like I said, I feel like I've been pretty good in my making this week. I feel like that's a relatively large amount of stuff to be working on. But before I go, I did want to mention one more thing, which is a book that I have mentioned on the podcast before, but I've been doing a lot of sorting out in the house recently. I always thought that the whole nesting thing was a bit of a myth when it came to pregnancy, because I am very much a homebody anyway, and I thought, well, maybe it's just that some people really like being in their house and sorting out things in their house, but the need to tidy and organise and make everything perfect is more than just something that makes me happy now. It's like a compulsion. So we've been doing a lot of sorting out. I will possibly be doing a bit of a yarn de-stash combined with a book de-stash of some knitting books and sewing books and that type of thing. I'd recommend following me on Instagram and checking out my Instagram stories, because I think that's probably how I will do that when the time comes. I'm not sure that that will be in the near future, but just so that you're getting a heads up. But one thing that I have been doing is going through all of my knitting books and basically reassessing whether or not I want to keep them, whether there are projects in there that I want to work on. And I picked up this book, which I have not yet knit anything from. This is Marlisle by Anna Maltz. Oh my goodness. I loved this book when I bought it. I'm a huge fan of Anna. I think that she is a beautiful human being. I love her sense of style. I love the fact that in this book all of the knitting patterns are stunning, but also a lot of the actual garments that are worn in the book are made from sewing patterns. So if you're so inclined, you could actually recreate almost the entire outfit that some of the models are wearing in here. I love that. But I just think that this book is something incredibly special, and this is definitely going to be staying with me. Put it that way. This isn't going anywhere anytime soon. But just looking through it again, I remember when I bought this and I started reading through it for the first time, and how happy it made me in my heart, how my heart kind of grew 10 sizes a la Grinch type thing. Not that I was a Grinch to start off with, but it made my heart even bigger and more full of love for Anna and everything that she does. And it's still the same. Basically, I really want to cast on some projects from this. And I do have a fair amount of yarn in stash that I think would work for it. And I just wanted to mention them because they've been in my brain like the entire week. And I thought, well, why not share them with the lovely podcasting viewers, because you never know, you guys might want these in your brain too. The patterns in here are all amazing. I could very happily knit my way through the entirety of this book, but the two that are really speaking to me at the moment, one of them is S. This is S. It is a shawl pattern. And I love it. I love the giant version of this. You can knit it in a smaller version or a big version. And when it comes to shawls, I've realised I am all about giant shawls. So shawls that are massive and squidgy, which is why I really love my void shawl. But look at these. Isn't that amazing? I also have yarn in stash that I think would work really, really well for this. I can't remember where I got this yarn from the company. I did pick it up from Edinburgh Yarn Festival 2 years ago, or a year ago, not this year gone, the year before basically, and it's this beautiful DK yarn. I would love to combine this with something that has a more kind of burgundy colour and make a giant shawl. I have a huge amount of yardage of this yarn. I have enough to essentially knit a full coat length garment. So for the shawl, it's more than enough yardage than I would need, and I would probably have enough left over to knit like a cropped sweater with what remains. So that would be a really nice stash buster in order to cast that on. It needs, I believe, DK weight yarn, but also 2 skeins of fingering weight yarn. I don't have a huge amount of kind of double skeins of fingering yarn that I haven't got earmarked for specific projects. So there is definitely a possibility there of buying more yarn. That might be a Fibre East purchase perhaps. But then the other pattern that I just adore, and Emrys also loves, and I know that he would love me to make one of these for him, like that's going to happen anytime soon, is the trembling sweater. It's a beautiful colourwork yoke incorporating Anna's beautiful Marlisle technique. And again, this uses a combination of 2 different kinds of yarn. So I think it's like a light fingering weight combined with a fingering weight in order to create the 3 different colours that you get from the yoke. I love it. This isn't something that I would be able to wear kind of now, because I'm a bit like a giant potato whale, but it is something that I'd be able to wear in the future. And I think working on that project, on that sweater, would make me so happy that I wouldn't mind if I had to wait a little while before it would be size appropriate for my body. So again, that might be something that I purchase yarn for sometime soon. I think for sure I will want to cast on S so that I have that ready for myself for when it gets colder towards the end of this year. I really love having big snuggly shawls, and I think it will be something really nice that I'll be able to wrap around my neck, perhaps when my coats aren't fitting too well. As you will know, I do have a coat that I have been trying to get made for a very long time, and I had full intentions of finishing this duffel coat this year, and then pregnancy happened, and now I'm thinking, do I really want to spend all this time making a coat when it's not even going to fit me for ages because of the potato whale situation? But with the coats that I currently have, which are all shop bought coats, they're not going to be able to do up around my middle, so having something quite big and warm in the front area I think is going to be really beneficial. And plus I just love this book and everything in it, and I love Anna, and I'm totally fangirling, but if you haven't checked out this book, you really should. But yeah, I think that that's a plan. Maybe we can do some kind of mini knit along with it, perhaps something super relaxed if it's something that a lot of you guys are interested in. Maybe starting in September, I think I could just about manage that. And talking about knit-alongs, I'm still not sure what I'm doing about the wong-along. I'm sorry it's taking me so long to decide, just because I haven't picked up my project in a while. But I will be putting some time into thinking about what I want to do for that, whether or not I will just draw prizes now, or keep it open until the end of summer or the end of September or something like that. But thank you for your patience regarding that. But yes, I'm a massive fan of Anna, as I was saying, and this book. This book, I think, is probably my favourite knitting book that I have in my collection at the moment. It makes me happy. It brings me calm when I'm feeling stressed. It lives by my bed at the moment, so that before I go to sleep, I can just have a little flick through, have a read through of Anna's words. I find it very soothing and very comforting, as well as being an incredible pattern book. So thank you for that, Anna. I think you're awesome. Yeah. That's going to be everything from me this week, you guys. It's been a bit rambly, a bit all over the place. I'm going to blame it on the heat. I am incredibly hot now. I can't wait to turn off this studio light and go and get some water and cool down. But I hope that you've enjoyed this episode. If you're planning to come to Fibre East, I would really love for you to say hi, so please do feel free to do that. If not, I hope you all have a wonderful week filled with everything that makes you happy, all the yarny goodness, all the sewing, all of the keeping cool and hydrated. From me to you, I'm sending you all so much love, and I will see you again really soon.